Hey guys, how's it going? F8 Alpha here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're in World of Tanks, and we're taking a look at the Steyr WT. Now, this is a turreted German Tier 7 tank destroyer, and for us today, I have a small comparison set up. It is the Steyr WT, it is the SU-12244, and it is the AT-15A. Now, for this comparison, I had a few criteria I wanted upon it. One criteria was that they had to be tier 7s. The second criteria is that they have to be available either in the game for gold or in the premium shop, so you can go ahead and pick these up right now at the time of this review. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. First, we're going to look at DPM. The WT has a 2085 DPM. The SU has a 3050 DPM, and the AT-15A has a 2182 DPM. One thing to take note of is that the WT has the best penetration at it, as it is running the long 88. It has 203 millimeters penetration compared to the SU that has 175 and the AT that has 171. Another thing that is different in this comparison compared to the others would be the alpha damage per shot. It has 240 alpha damage per shot. The SU has 390 and the AT has 150. Now when it comes to just rate of fire, obviously the AT-15A is the champion in this comparison. It has a 14.5 rate of fire, followed by WT who has an 8.6, and the SU, which has a 7.8. The next thing that we'll look at is the aim time. Now the WT and the AT-15A have a joint best aim time of 1.8 seconds, which is blistering fast, followed by the SU that has a 2.7, which isn't too bad. Now when it comes to dispersion, this is where things kind of get somewhat interesting. The WT has a 0.32 dispersion. The SU has a 0.39, which is terrible, as it is running that 122 millimeter gun on it, followed by the AT-15A that has the best dispersion of 0.31. Now, the WT does have a rotatable turret on it that can spin 360 degrees, making it very flexible. However, the depression is only 8 degrees, and if you notice at the front of this tank, there are two knuckles on the front of this tank, and over those knuckles, obviously, you cannot aim down. So if you're aiming over the sides, the rear, or small portion of the front, you will be able to get 8 degrees. However, aiming over those two knuckles, you will not. So that's just a key feature of the tank. But the AT-15A has the best depression of 10 degrees, followed by the SU that has a abysmal 4 degrees. Now let's look at the mobility of these tanks. The SU has the fastest top speed of 47.5, followed by the WT, which has a 35 kilometer an hour, and lastly we have the AT-15A that has a 20 kilometer hour top speed. However, when it comes to the power to weight ratio, this is where the WT leads the pack. It has a 15.7, followed by the SU, which has a 15.2, and the AT that has a 10 horsepower per ton ratio. Now, with that said, there was a buff to the engine in the WT, which is why it is now leading in this comparison as far as horsepower per ton goes. But now we move forward to the armor, and this is where the WT is obviously left behind massively in this comparison. It has 20 millimeters on the front of the turret and the hull, 10 millimeters on the side of the turret and the hull, and then 8 millimeters of armor on the hull rear, and 10 millimeters of armor on the turret rear. Now, if you compare it to something like the SU that has 90 millimeters on the front, 75 on the side, and 45 at the rear, you can see that the SU basically has a little over 4 times the armor thickness when it comes to protection And of course, the AT-15A is well known for its armor. It has 228 millimeters of armor on the front of it, making it the most heavily armored in this comparison, but also the slowest, which is to be expected. Now, one thing that we have to take note of is the view range. The Waffentrigger has a 360 meter view range, followed by the AT-15A, which has a 350. And then in last place, we have the SU with a 330 meter view range, making the Waffentrigger the best at spotting. Also, one of the key features for this tank would be the concealment, and that is where the Waffentrigger really shines. It has the best stationary and best on the move concealment of all three of these tanks, making this tank the ideal sniper. It has a turret, it has the best camo rating, and it's decently quick to get into position. Additionally, it has the best penetration and the second best dispersion, making the Waffentrigger a real monster when it comes to sniping at range and landing those precision shots. There really is no better option as far as a premium tank goes at tier 7 than the Waffentrigger for being just a pure 100% sniper. Now, because this tank does have such thin armor on it, it is very, very susceptible to HE shells. So if you see one of these on the battlefield, go ahead and load those HE shells, as it will do a tremendous amount of damage to this tank. It is open top and it is very thinly armored, making it very, very susceptible to HE fire. That is basically how you would destroy this tank very quickly. Now, my personal thoughts on this are basically this is like the ultimate camping slash sniping tank, or tank destroyer, I should say. This is ideal if you have a decent team, if you're looking to basically find a opportunistic bush, hide in it, and to go ahead and lay down suppressive fire or very effective fire on the enemy, depending on where your position is. And with that said, what that means is that you have to know the maps. You have to know some ideal locations in order to take this tank, because the last thing you want to do is be trying to go toe-to-toe with another tank, especially if you're spotted, as you will more likely lose that fight because the hit points are low. There's virtually no armor to this tank, making it probably one of the worst brawlers in tier 7 besides like light tanks. As far as straight tank destroyers go, this is definitely not anywhere near being a brawler. It is, like I said, 100% a pure sniper. So with that said, guys, that's my review of the Steyr Waffentrigger. I am F8 Alpha, and I will catch you guys next time.